So I want to talk to you a little bit about the company that I so proudly represent, which is Qualcomm, and how that relates to you, the publishers. So the biggest platform in the history of technology is this wireless ecosystem that we, Qualcomm, happen to be a player in and sit in the middle of. So at the epicenter of many of these 2G, 3G, and 4G battles that are raging sits a small little company in San Diego, been there since '85. And what do? We have patents and technology for CDMA and WCDMA. Let's conjoin those into the 3G world. And OFDMA is in the 4G world. So what we've been doing for many years is we spend an inordinate amount of dollars in R&D. We take that and those innovative solutions and partner with our licensees. Our licensees are Nokia, Motorola, Samsung, LG, the OEM partners in the community that you're familiar with. They take those devices through our carrier channels, AT&T, T-Mobile, Sprint, Verizon, and others. That gets to you or us, the subscriber, and there is a revenue stream that is created and flows back to Qualcomm as a result, and we pump that back into R&D. So it is a virtuous cycle that we have been lucky and proud to perpetuate here in the industry. So the mobile experience now is much different than the mobile experience from 5 years ago. So I shudder to think what the experience will look like in 5 years. But happy to be in a cutting-edge technology company like Qualcomm, because every once in a while we get to go down into the labs and see what our super nerds are building. I use that as a term of endearment because these are, I think we have more PhDs than most companies, and we are an R&D technology-based company. So when our guys have it in their mind to build something, it comes to fruition beautifully, as you'll see with some of the products, and especially Mirasol. So now there's a perfect storm of these data-thirsty devices, these high-powered 3G and 4G networks that the operators are competing against each other to build, and you, the subscriber, that wants your information, you want it personalized, you want your music, you want your account, you want your your healthcare information off of a HIPAA compliant server. All those things are enabled in this mobile internet, including the content from many of the partners in this room. So I will not bore you, nor will there be a test on all the different acronyms that go into our chips. If you can imagine, with 190 licensees and 50,000 plus patents, a lot of complexity that goes into this little 4x3 screen device. And some of the devices that you may be familiar with are smartphones. So smartphones drive our business, that makes up the core of our business, and off of that kind of main thoroughfare, we are allowed to invest in and monetize new business models that we'll talk about here shortly. The smartphone growth has been nothing short of phenomenal. AT&T had a slide in their last earnings that mentioned their last 4 years, their data growth has gone up 8,000%, and they're expecting 8 to 10 times that in the next several years. So this broadband pipe is wide, but it needs to get wider because all of us want our information as immediately as we touch a button, and we want it to be vibrant, we want it to be personalized, and we want it on whatever device we happen to hold, whether it be a smartphone, laptop, tablet, e-reader, or the like. So because of the smartphone expansion, we have worked extensively with all the high-level OS companies that are in the ecosystem. So Android, as you've seen, we're in the first bit of the G1 and G2s and have a great partnership with our friends at Google. Brew MP, which we'll talk about, is kind of our homegrown OS solution. Windows Phone, all the Windows phones out right now are based on right on top of Qualcomm silicon. Some of the BlackBerry wins are interesting, and then WebOS and Palm. There's some very cool devices coming out, I believe this month from Palm. So another 2.5 billion devices forecasted to be shipped here shortly. That is a lot of complexity, again, off of a little 45 nanometer piece of a wafer that we turn into a chip. So what Qualcomm does, we manufacture these chips for our licensees, and we sell them. I think we sold 400 million chips last year alone. So it's great that one of our employees or engineers has an idea. It can manifest itself onto a chip, and we sell basically 1 million a day. So we're influencing the wireless ecosystem, and now you see us branching out into do things with healthcare and education and other mediums. So the core of this, the engine itself, is Snapdragon. So along with the chips, we have a single core, dual core, now quad core, 1 gigahertz processor that accompanies and is partnered or fused to that chip, which we call Snapdragon. So you don't see a lot of, you never see a Qualcomm commercial. You never see a lot of advertising from us. We are a private label, white label company. We enjoy being the enablers to our partners who have a vested interest in gaining your attention and driving you into their stores. We are simple enablers, and one of our newest creations is the Snapdragon, which is the chip itself, and inside of your smartphone beats the heart of a dragon. So on all these different devices, think about the devices that we hold now, and just imagine the devices that we'll have in a couple of years. We'll have some sort of Qualcomm componentry inside them, if not just the modem, not just the processor, but mini WAN and LAN. We have 112 different R&D projects going on at Qualcomm right now. So the slides that we show next year, we get invited back. I don't know how I'm doing so far, but if we get invited back, may have a few extra slides as well. So I mentioned the leadership in Android. We have 130 devices launched already. QCT is our chipset division. So I won't bore you with all the acronyms because it is really just an alphabet soup of so many different things that none of us would remember. I mean, Kevin and a few of us get paid to remember these things, but I won't bore the room with those details. And we have 30 different manufacturers shipping Android-based solutions. So that's all honeycomb and ice cream and froyo and all these different operating systems or derivations of the Android operating system that I've long since forgot. We spent an inordinate amount of time in Redmond, as you might imagine, working with Microsoft to bring this Windows Phone 7 experience. I've tried it. I love it. We have a couple different devices. Most of us change phones quite a bit to get the user experience. This has been launched at AT&T and T-Mobile. I think Sprint has some Win devices coming as well. But again, these are Qualcomm-based, Snapdragon-powered smartphones. So, one of the reasons that we are here is that, as we mentioned, that we are an enabler. I don't know why Qualcomm, we have done such a poor job of, we've kept the best kept secret, or the worst kept secret in the world, depending on how you look at it. We were happy to partner with Amazon years ago and enable their migration from the print media world and obviously on the web to a tablet that we are all now familiar with, and it's become a iconic device and a part of our lexicon at this point. There's been a Qualcomm piece of componentry inside all versions of their devices so far, and we enjoy that partnership and certainly hope for that to continue as well as newer, better, faster, more vibrant screens, bringing out that content in a way that the folks in this room that you care about. Your content is very valuable. It's the lifeblood. It's the jugular vein of which you're creating revenue. We treat that very closely, near and dear to our hearts, because the only way that you're going to ask partners to make sure that there's Qualcomm inside is if we bring out something that is better than the next mousetrap. So all of these devices, our partners at AT&T, in addition to their 150 30 million subs that they may have at the end of this year, if and when the FCC and the DOJ approve their merger acquisition of T-Mobile. They have a different group, and most carriers do have a adjunct group that is just focused on emerging devices, connected devices, different acronyms for anything that is a CE device. So again, Qualcomm being very quiet, being the face or the enabler behind the face, are in multiple devices in multiple categories and disciplines. Everything from obviously the e-readers and the tablets, and we have a wireless glucometer, picture frame, the MiFi. If it has an on and off switch in it, our job, Kevin and I, is to go make sure that we have a way to get into that device. And we're doing it with technology that we're very proud of, and we think that's just a step ahead of our competition. So now we have these devices, we have these powerful networks, we have these thirsty devices that are either pinging the LAN or the WAN or going up in the cloud and pulling down information. How is that all going to happen without dragging around a battery that's the size of a toaster? That's where our process node shrink and expertise in the small digitization of all these technologies comes in handy. Other companies are coming from the laptop space and trying to shrink down into the wireless world. We think we have an advantage in terms of coming from kind of the bottoms up. It's easier for us to get bigger and still appreciate the perishability of a battery life, because if you had 20 minutes of battery, it would not matter how cool the device was at all. So all these things, in addition to being always on connectivity and all day battery life, also location aware. So all of our chips since last several years are all GPS enabled for E911 compliancy as well. One of the reasons that we're here is that we are trying to find new partners. We sit, again, at the epicenter of the carriers, the apps developers, the platform developers, the OEMs, the ODMs, and now are introducing ourselves kind of more officially to the publishers. If you have content that you want displayed on a device better, faster, and with more vibrancy, we humbly submit that we could be a partner for you. So myself and Cheryl and Jesse and Kevin are all here, and new and interesting business models. This is not a core business for us, but we're hoping that your technology shows off our technology and vice versa. So I mentioned the portfolio of partners, from licensees to chipset manufacturers to the carriers to kind of new entrants like EA and Mattel that were doing one-off things. We're happy, again, to be private label, to let your brand shine on these devices. As many of you have seen outside in the Diamond or Platinum sponsorship of the event, Mirasol is our newest and greatest creation. And we've just opened a new facility in the Far East. We put $1 billion into that building. This is a big bet for Qualcomm. We're betting that as these devices come to fruition and we want more and more access to our information, that we're going to need it in a battery-saving, conscious way, and we're going to want that screen to look like almost like our 60-inch screen that's on your Sony or LG or whatever is at home. If that does not jump off of the screen, then there's I think there's a decreased willingness to kind of spend all this money on all these devices. So this is our last mile, but there'll be much more coming. And I encourage all of you to talk to us, or actually more importantly, talk to the experts here, Cheryl, about what is next and how do we partner with your content on Mirasol. Any questions about Qualcomm? Any questions specifically about Mirasol?
What kind of power savings are you seeing over like the more traditional LCD displays?
We sell a component, right? And so whenever you drop that display component, it has the potential to be 10 times the power. But once you put it in casing and you have to optimize the software and so forth, a good conservative estimate is anywhere from 3 to 5 times the power.
We're trying to become more valuable to our licensees like Samsung and HTC. So now they can come to us and they can get the modem, they can get the apps processor, they can get a broadcast layer, and now basically all the way up to the screen, which is the Mirasol display. So that ingratiates us to our licensees. Hopefully they become more loyal to us, and we sell more of the product, not just one piece of it. We have enjoyed some partnerships that are not traditionally in our space, like the airlines company, the automotive, and others. So we're really proud of the first 26, 27 years of the company, but it's the next decade or the next 25 years that we are exceptionally excited about. And again, we need your partnership to make that happen. So with that, maybe I'll sit down or answer any last questions. Yes?
What is distinctive about the Mirasol display?
Could you be a little bit more specific?
Well, is the technology really the chip that drives it, or is it something about the display itself?
Yeah, the display is separate and discrete from the chip itself. We're trying to bring a comprehensive solution to the ecosystem and to our partners, but Mirasol could be sold to a person that is not using a Qualcomm chip, God forbid, which is blasphemous almost for me to say, but as part of the many partners that we have in the ecosystem, it is not dependent on running on a Qualcomm chip.
I read some time ago that it was both reflective and transmissive, is that right?
Reflective, yes, and the transmissive is a kind of a...
It's a reflective display technology. And then just to go back to your question really quickly, not only is it chipset agnostic, it's OS agnostic. It's the window
great
to
point.
whatever your content is. So it really can be in almost any format.
Does Qualcomm ever do OEM original equipment manufacturing for other companies?
No, we got out of the OEM business years ago. We used to make modems. We divested ourselves from that business. We used to make handsets years and years ago. We divested ourselves from that business. We used to actually make the infrastructure and got out of that as well. Our founder, Erwin Jacob, said, let's focus more on the engine itself than the plastic or the Corinthian leather or whatever that else goes into the car. So that's where we spend an inordinate amount of time, and you will see us do some reference designs with partners like Foxconn and others in Taiwan and other places. But the only device that you would see with a Qualcomm name on it would be, with some of the work that we're doing with the three-letter agencies in DC. So when Obama and others pick up the phone to call each other from certain motorcades, that's done on a version of a Qualcomm phone. But that's it. I guess none of us would get to see that anyway, so scratch that. So again, we started working with Amazon a long time ago. We appreciated the partnership. We appreciated their privacy. We appreciated their need to be the signature brand, and we adhered to those rules for some time. And we'd love to replicate that success with many of the folks in this room, at this conference, and up and down Park Avenue and Madison Avenue and others. So please let us know how we can help, and we'd be excited to bring your content to these displays that we think are the best in the business. Thank you.